Okay, what's up? I feel like the light of this is so weird. It looks like a soft glow, whatever. I don't know how to do YouTube videos, or any videos. Yeah, I watched The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. I watched this ages ago. I guess it was a funny. I'll just tell the story. We had it on DVD. I didn't see it at the cinemas, but my friend said, "Oh, let's go see The Two Towers." So this is December 2002, and I thought, maybe I hadn't seen the first one, but the rating for The Two Towers was so high on the Internet Movie Database. It was like 9.4 or something. It was number one or one of the top movies. And I think Fellowship was also right up there. I wasn't excited because the story didn't appeal to me. I really like fantasy, but it didn't seem, I don't know, it just seemed like you already have all these groups of people, the elves and the dwarves and this ring, and I was like, what's so powerful about the ring? I think of fantasy, I really like the concept of the power within, that magic is sort of real, that you can sort of, if you focus enough, if you believe in yourself, if you train and you unleash this inner potential, that you can become, you can achieve profound things. To me, that's what fantasy should be like. A bit like Luke Skywalker is just some little kid, and then he, just some farm boy, but then it turns out he has within him the potential to learn all these amazing skills and to defeat these really powerful evil people. But anyway, I watched it on DVD, and then it was like so many discs, but I watched the first half, and then I went to watch the second half, and the disc was the same. It was a mistake. It didn't have the second half, it just had the same first half, so we had to re-get it, and that took a while, and then I watched it on DVD, then I watched the rest at the cinema. Two Towers and Return of the King with my friends in consecutive years. But anyway, so I rewatched it. I gave it 9 out of 10 before, but now I give it 10 out of 10. I really liked it. It was better than I remembered. It was funny. It had all the parts that I remembered and a lot of the same strengths and weaknesses. The visual effects are really good, but I actually really like the forced perspective. That part was one of the strongest parts. It's timeless because it's just done really well. I could sort of tell they weren't looking at each other sometimes, but I thought it was very well done. It wasn't easy to tell. It wasn't obvious. I realized when Gandalf and Frodo were sitting next to each other, I was like, I know how they do this. I realized, it's really well done. The CGI is mostly good, but a few parts, the troll, I don't think it looks that great. It's dated. It's too organic, and the sea monster, whatever that thing is, it looks weird. I didn't like that aspect as much, and the Golem didn't look as good, even though he's in shadows. The eyes, it wasn't convincing. And it's funny, the exact same parts weren't convincing in 2002 or whenever I saw it, because it came out in 2001, and then the next two came out 2002 and 3. But yeah, what else? The opening sequence is really awesome. It's timeless. There's so many other movies with a big action scene. There's all this row of people in this row, and they charge at each other. But in that, it's really well done. Like the setting out, you can tell they were very clever with the use of, special effects in the background to create scale, but also using just 10 or 20 people standing in a row to create a foreground, and it mixes perfectly. And then Sauron with his power just swinging at people. It's really stuff of fantasy, very exciting. And the Balrog looks really awesome later in the movie. One thing I've got to say, the movie made a lot more sense now, maybe because I've read the first book and I was halfway through The Two Towers. I started it like 8 years ago. I still have it in my room with some kind of bookmark. So I think I'll just restart the trilogy at some stage. Although I think it was originally one big novel. I was reading about it, 3 volumes. But anyway, and I've read The Hobbit a while ago. But maybe because of that, it made more sense. Yeah, the stuff with the ring, I got that it's almost a bit like Voldemort. He has a Horcrux, or he has Horcruxes, so he sort of gets killed, but then he's like still alive somehow, his spirit, and then he's trying to gradually create a physical form. And it seems similar. Like Voldemort has this interest in Harry Potter because of there's a connection. So yeah, with Lord of the Rings, it's like maybe it wasn't planned, but somehow he stays alive in the ring, and the ring has a power and an essence, like be like a Horcrux or whatever. But then anyway, yeah, I understood that part more. That it feeds on your desire, your lust, your that sort of thing, and that can affect all these people, and that the hobbits are this very simple, peace-loving sort of people that are less susceptible to that, especially Frodo because he's so innocent. Um, and I liked the human characters, the men, race of men, Aragorn or Strider, son of Aragorn. Wait, Arathorn. Some of the names. When I first saw it, Sauron and Saruman, it was so confusing. And Mordor was someplace, Rivendell, Galadriel was a character, and now I know a lot of them. It's easier once you've got built up a bit of knowledge. But it was so confusing the first time I saw it. I didn't get it. Yeah, the stuff between Aragorn and now I don't remember, Boromir. I was thinking Borodin, like the composer. Boromir, that really worked for me this time. That because Aragorn's related to Isildur, the first person that sort of had the chance to get rid of the ring but kept it. I don't think he fully understood the implications, the danger, but that both of them, Boromir also, they both fear that they're men. They have humans are weak and give in to our greed, and they didn't know that they could be more than that. They wanted to believe it, but they were skeptical of themselves. And I thought it actually reminded me of The Dark Knight, where you've got Batman. I think Aragorn is a bit similar in terms of they have, like, Batman was born to billionaire parents. Thomas Wayne, was a really positive force in the city of Gotham or whatever, but then Batman ends up lost and doesn't know what he's going to do, and he had, tragedy occur, and then you've got Aragorn, who's heir to the throne or whatever, could be the king. He's come from that lineage, but hasn't accepted it, or he's conflicted, and he sort of acts dark and sort of like this dodgy person that travels around like a vigilante or something, but he's actually really kind. He's very softly spoken as well. It's a good example of someone's bark being worse than their bite. The really quiet people, they don't have anything to show to try to act tough. He doesn't need to act tough. He is actually tough, so he can just speak quietly and calmly and nicely to people. I really liked his dialogue as well. In general, when he talks to Frodo, like something about, you're not covering yourself enough, but just that it captured the way they speak in the book. I remember I really liked that as well. It's rich, it's unique, it gives it its own feel, and it feels more like in tune with nature. Like, we must make heed. I noticed they don't make much reference to time intervals. They don't say half an hour, it'll be 28 minutes, it'll be 3 weeks. They always talk in terms of it'll be a 4-day journey. It's like by sundown we must, they'll be here by the time this natural event occurs. I like that. And also distance. It's never a certain number of kilometers. It's always that's as far as this other distance. I don't know. What else? Yeah, okay, I just remembered with Merry and Pippin, they seem like a liability. Especially, I get confused. Pippin, I think, the Peregrine Took. I don't know how to say his last name. He says, oh yeah, Baggins, yeah, he's right over here. Like, number one. And then later, he's like playing with this skeleton, and it drops and awakens or gets the attention of Balrog, this literal demon, like as powerful or more powerful than Gandalf. Like, and not to mention a huge number of orcs who have a troll with them, a cave troll or whatever. Like, why did they bring him? The way the movie, that's a serious weakness of the movie, I think. Peregrine and Merry and Pippin shouldn't have been brought along, or we needed to be convinced that they weren't just idiots, because they look like idiots, and it really does cheapen it, the plot points. You want a good villain, a good guy to balance it out. Anyway, I want to go back to the men, because I just remembered. So Aragorn and Boromir, and Boromir is sort of like, I think of like the Harvey Dent. Okay, so he's like sort of, he's a warrior. He's not a striding a, going along in the shadows like Aragorn, traveling around lost. He's like a leader, but he thinks we should use this ring, just use it against them. But anyway, he ends up being the weaker of the two. He gives in, or he can't resist. It affects him, and he tries to take it, and then he ends up sort of turning to the dark side, you could say, and he ends up dead. Spoiler alert. That I actually really liked it. I think it's the best death scene I can think of in any movie. It affected me. Like, I was basically crying, or for me, it's like I always have control. The tears are and it's a good feeling. It's like, it was profound. It really affected me because of the lines he says to Aragorn about, I would happily die for you as my king, or, your people. That he had that respect for Aragorn, and Aragorn cared for him. They loved each other, cared about each other. And I found I didn't want Boromir to die. What really affected me as well was he bonded with the two hobbits so much. They were playing, he was teaching them how to fight. And then, and he a couple of times he made reference to the hobbits won't be able to survive this coldness, the mountain. He really cared about them, and the fact that he gets shot with an arrow, but then he keeps fighting. There's a part, he's had 2 arrows in him, and then he sees them again, and they're looking at him, and he turns and fights. And I just realized he was just cared about them so much. He wanted to save them. They were like his children or whatever, his brothers. So he had to fight, and then Aragorn comes in and fights the Uruk-hai. Yeah, I just overall. The movies, I don't know, very cinematic. It's really, really well made. I feel stupid, like, oh, you just noticed? Yeah, it's called Lord of the Rings. It's been around for 15 years, but it's really good. It's like on a higher level from most movies, I think. I have a lot of respect for it. I mean, anyway, I'm excited because I want to watch the next one. I don't want to take too long. I feel like there was something else. But yeah, the stuff with that race of men, and Aragorn maybe believes in himself a bit more. The way when he sort of tests himself with the ring, Frodo sort of offers it, or I thought that was an interesting dynamic where if Frodo is becoming too attached to it, that can be a bad sign because maybe it's controlling Frodo a bit. But Frodo offers it to Galadriel, and I think she sort of notices, like, that's a good, I don't know, it's a good thing for Frodo. It means that he's not too attached. And the fact that then, like, when Aragorn sort of has that chance, it's like there's a moment where maybe he thinks the power it could give him for good or for whatever, but then I don't know, he ends up being strong enough. It's like a test of both of them. He sort of also wants to see, would Frodo actually let me take it? Because but anyway, and then closes his hands around it. There were a lot of lines I liked. With Gandalf, all we have to do is decide what to do with the time that's given to us. We can't choose the circumstances, just what we're going to do. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know if I've got much else to say. I'll probably think of things after. I'll leave it there. So yeah, 10 out of 10. Not perfect, but really, really good, really exciting. I just casually sort of put it on. I thought, oh, I think I'll watch it. I thought maybe I'll get 20 minutes in, watch the rest later. But it was so involving. I really liked the dwarf as well, Rhys something Davies. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I'm looking at the cover. I know they changed a few things, but I don't think it matters too much. The bad guys were cool. Actually, that's last thing I'll say is the voices of Sauron and the vision of the eye, and when Gandalf says, "Do not take me for some cheap conjurer tricks." That was really epic. There's sort of like wind, and it goes darker. It's a subtle effect, but in the way they're elves, it was sort of, they were bright. You get this idea of, like, I don't know if that's literally what they look like or if it's just the aura, the effect they have. It works. And yeah, Christopher Lee is so awesome as Saruman. He's such a cool actor with a really unique, deep, I can't imitate it. The voice is so cool. And yeah, just all the plot points made sense to me pretty much. It was really good, other than Merry and Pippin being a complete liability, which is frustrating. Anyway, so I'm going to watch The Two Towers soon. Bye for now.